right there, Latin 2. This is the first of 3 grammar videos I'm going to give you for this chapter. And it's largely because the book starts you off on just one thing, but I think that they doubt you. And I think that you're capable of handling all 3 versions of this thing. So if you turn to page 50 and 51, there's an explanation of the perfect passive participle. You should read it, but understand I do not want you using good English when you get a perfect passive participle, okay? So we're talking about perfect passive participles. Let's actually talk about perfect passive participles. A perfect passive participle is abbreviated as a PPP, or it is the 4th principal part of any verb, okay? However, that verb must be transitive, okay? You must memorize these. You just simply have to. Okay, so transitive verbs get a perfect passive participle. And what a participle is essentially an adjectival form of the verb. Okay, we get lots of English from it. It's an adjectival form of the verb, and it's perfect, so it's already happened, and it's passive, so it's happening. It happened to someone. So it happened to someone in the past. So it translates as having been loved. I don't care what all the other explanations they give you. Just translate it as having been whatever that verb is. That's what you get to do right now. Good English comes next year. Also, it's always a first and second declension adjective. Always. So it's really, really easy to decline. Okay? So let's take a look at what perfect passive participles are. So like I told you, it's already the 4th principal part, so you just have to memorize that. So if you haven't filled in the 4th principal part on all your cards, and you should have last year, then you need to start doing that, because these forms are where you get a lot of English from. And it's going to help you in understanding all kinds of things, like, for instance, all the passives, the perfect, the pluperfect, and the future perfect. And now you see why we use it in the perfect, pluperfect, and future perfect passives. So here's a couple sentences, okay? So sextus verberatus in piscina se celauit. Sextus, having been beaten, hid in the fish pond. Okay? So again, here's an adjective describing him, but it is a perfect passive participle of the verb verbero, verberare, verberavi, verberatum. So it's verbs acting like adjectives. Next one. Aurelia vexata ancillas reprehendebat. Aurelia, having been annoyed, was scolding the handmaidens. Having been annoyed. Now notice, I told you it was a first and second declension adjective. Notice that it matches in number, case, and gender to the noun that it's modifying. Okay? So, she's nominative singular feminine. This is nominative singular feminine. He's nominative singular masculine. This is nominative singular masculine. And before you ask yourself, wait, can it exist in other cases? Yes, it can. Marco vocato parentes togam dederunt. The parents gave a toga to Marcus, having been called. So here, he's dative. He's an indirect object. To Marcus, having been called. It still matches him in number, case, and gender. Singular, masculine, dative. Okay? So that's how those work. Those are perfect passive participles. Okay? The book talks about them, and it does an okay job, but it gives you a bunch of options. I don't want you to use any of those. You only get to use the having been version, which is at the very top of page 51. Okay, having been summoned, having been, and it only works with transitive verbs. Okay, you cannot use this with intransitive verbs. Having been makes no sense. What I want you to do is read pages 50 and 51 and then do exercise 33B. However, I'm changing the instructions. Only translate it once and translate it with the bad version. Okay, so the very first one. Convivae ad cenam invitati ad Corneliō ipsō comiter salutati sunt. The guests, having been invited by Cornelius himself, the guests having been invited to the dinner were greeted by Cornelius himself gracefully. So invitati, I want you to note that invitati is modifying convivae. Convivae is masculine plural. It's just one of those things you got to remember. So having been invited. Okay, there's no est or sunt next to it. Whereas there is with salutati. Salutati, sunt, means they were greeted. But invitati, having been invited. Okay? So you'd write down the Latin, then write down the English, all right? If we were together, I'd have you do some circling and some drawing arrows thing, but I don't think that'll help you very much in the typing right now. So do 33B, but only do it once, and do it the bad English way, the having been, whatever it is, okay? I look forward to giving you your feedback on that. I'm gonna hit the button.